Welcome on into a Thursday edition here of Sports Memo Today. First edition of March. Where does the time go? That, of course, means we got some college basketball tourney talk coming up. The conference tournaments starting tonight, actually. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that with Nick Parsons of the Insiders Room. And then, in the coming weeks leading up to March Madness, I believe 10 days away from Selection Sunday, we'll have you ready to go here on Sports Memo Today. Each and every Tuesday and Thursday, we get you actionable information in 30 minutes or less. And I'm your host, Dan Alexander. I already alluded to the fact that we'll be talking to Nick Parsons of the Insiders Room. He's got 2 plays on the hardwood just for you. And Eric Pauly going to be batting leadoff. Apropos saying batting leadoff, as he's got 2 MLB futures plays for you. And if you're fans here of Sports Memo Today, when Eric Pauly talks futures, you best listen. You should really know when he talks baseball, you should listen. We'll give you some of those numbers, but let's get right into it and welcome in one of the new stalwarts of the Gold Sheet, Eric Pauly, sm.buzz/EP. Eric, now I get to congratulate you on air for your new position with the Gold Sheet. And before we get into your plays today, it's something you're pretty excited about because with baseball on the horizon, you got some great content coming the way of the folks, obviously on your own Twitter, on your own page at Sports Memo, but now through one of the, if not the most well-known publication of sports betting that the world's ever seen. So I know you're pumped about that, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Dan. And of course, I'm very excited for what is coming to come from the Gold Sheet, but everybody else should be excited as well. Are we doing better with what we were offering on the premium side? We also are offering a ton more of different, a wider variety of different sports and different betting angles for free as well. So some of the things to expect from now and until honestly really through the beginning of football season now is we're going to have updated MLB content coming to the Gold Sheet, breaking down all the futures awards. We're going to have some golf, some NASCAR, and all this in preparation again for football season as well. So going to be a ton of great content at the Gold Sheet, and we're really looking forward to building something exciting for you guys, the fans.
Couldn't be a better guy to head all of it than my man, Eric Pauly. Check him out, sm.buzz/EP. So, brother, let's get into some of these MLB plays. I mean, you and I talk about it all the time of just sitting in the Westgate Superbook, cashing tickets like crazy alongside each other. I would just say, what are we betting in baseball today? EP would give me the play. I would walk up to the counter, and it was like automatic cash. But you also do terrific in these future markets as well because you know the sport so well. So let's start off with a hit prop. You got a player that you think might be going over his posted number. I turn the mic over to you, man.
Yeah, so something to consider if you haven't been catching any spring training. If you haven't been watching yet, I don't know what you guys are doing. Get your MLB TV set up. We got baseball going on, so you should definitely be tuning in there. But there are a lot of rule changes that are being implemented for this season, and they have already been implemented in the spring, and they'll be here for all year long. And one of these rule changes is teams defensively cannot shift anymore. So, those times you see 3 guys on the right side of the infield, 1 guy on the left side of the infield, you see a ball get smacked, that would be annoying in basically any level of football forever, turning into an out to an infielder playing in the infield, in the grass, in the outfield, turning that into an out. That is no more. So something I decided to take a look at this season were what players were really held back a little bit by the shift last year based on defensive alignments. So a player who, of course, is just a stud in the first place, Texas Rangers player Corey Seager, last year he had 145 hits, but on 92.8% of his at-bats, teams shifted to the right side of the field, and they had 1 infielder actually playing in the outfield. So again, those hard hit balls that normally would be through the hole for base hits turned into outs. So last year, Seager had 145 hits. His number this year for posted is 146.5 hits. I'm going over on that number solely because, again, when you have that basically disadvantage, 92.8% of the time you step up to the plate, and now the primary spot where you're hitting these hard hit balls that were outs should now turn into hits. He was robbed for a bunch of hits last season. This number, again, being basically the same number he had last year, add 1 hit, but now also, again, taking away that whole disadvantage at the plate. I think Seager is primed actually for a great season, and 146.5 is too low. I locked this in for clients and for myself. 1 unit play, Corey Seager for 146.5 hits this season.
We're going over for Seager, 146.5, and figures to be, once this kind of info starts trickling out, that the number's pretty similar. These are, not quite opening numbers, but they haven't been out there all that long. Minus 115, a pretty good price to hop in on. And when you're talking future prices, you definitely want them as low as juice as possible, or potential plus money play. Speaking of which, this is a real nice plus money play, like the one you got for us on Sauce Gardner to be the defensive rookie of the year. Let's talk a little Cy Young in the AL. Who are you eyeing for a little long shot play, a little sprinkle to boost the bankroll to start off the year for your Cy Young winner in the American side of things?
Yeah, so this is something I'm playing myself, something that will be on the client card shortly, but I'm giving it out here quickly because I don't expect this number to move between now and the time I finish the segment, but I guess you never know. I'm going with Tristan McKenzie, pitcher for the Cleveland Guardians, to win the AL Cy Young at plus 4,000 odds. The thing about McKenzie is he is going into his fourth real big league season. Last year, he pitched 31 games, over 190 innings. He has velocity. He has a great breaking pitch. He has the body size. He's just a giant on the hill. He's definitely got to work in the weight room still a little bit more, but he has all kind of the tools from a athletic profile perspective you want from a pitcher, and the production was there last season. You look at win-loss, which obviously now is not as important or important at all when it comes to Cy Young voting. 11-11 last year, but he got that FIP down to a 3.59, his ERA at 2.96. He actually produced a 3.6 WAR on the hill for the Guardians this season, and I just think that we have not seen the best of McKenzie just yet. So giving me 40-1 odds on this ascending young talent to take control of the AL, where obviously they do have some good pitchers, but you have DeGrom, who's the favorite, who of course gets hurt very often. You have the two Yankees and Rodon now, who I think I like better than Cole, but Cole is just, his price is honestly not attractive because obviously he's great, but is he the Cy Young kind of material? I don't think so. Obviously Verlander went to the National League, and of course you have his teammate Shane Bieber, who will be in consideration as well. But McKenzie's ability to mix up his pitches, his fastball has really been devastating, and his just improvements year after year. I think that this is the year, while he took a leap last year, where he actually solidifies himself as an ace and gets a bag this offseason for whichever team picks him up, because I don't think the Guardians will retain him. But give me 40-1 odds on one of the most exciting young pitchers in baseball to win the Cy Young Award. That's something I'm going to put a little bit of investment in. I'm thinking about a half a unit there, and I would recommend it to all clients, and I think it's certainly worth a flyer.
Yeah, going the 40-1 shot. And like I mentioned, future markets, Eric does a terrific job in, but also MLB. Just take a look at his numbers last season. sm.buzz/EP is where you can find all of his plays. He was just under 56% winning percentage, a 76, 61, and 1 run in MLB last year, just under 5% return on your investment, and you gained just under 21 units if you were riding with my man Eric Pauly. So when they go over to your page to get some of this future action that you're dropping, what are they going to find? You got anything locked and loaded? Because I know with spring baseball in swing, those are some numbers you like taking advantage of.
Yeah, so I've been betting spring myself. Haven't been posting them just yet because, again, I'm trying to see how the rule changes have been affecting the game, the pitch clock, the bigger bases, the lack of shift. So I've actually had some good success, so I'm expecting to be posting more spring training games. But right now, you can find an all access for every single future pick I have for this season. I just give you 2 of them now that are on that card. I have another one already on that card locked and loaded, and we have still 20 before opening. I would definitely assume there would be a future picks for you guys there. That's a profile like that now. When the other, they'll be emailed to you every single pick, one price, one spot.
Eric Pauly, man of the people, there giving away all kinds of client plays for free right here on Sports Memo Today. Big thanks to him. Again, check him out, sm.buzz/EP. And I'm sure you're saying, Dan, what the heck? You're going to lead the show off live here on a Thursday with conference tournament action and NBA action in tow with talking MLB futures? Well, yes. You want to get those numbers as soon as possible because Eric Pauly typically in front of those market moves. But don't worry, I'm going to get you taken care of. I got the insider's room to get you some actionable information on the hardwood. Nick Parsons joining us. Find him, sm.buzz/TIR. And Nick, great to see you, man. You've been hot in college basketball. You've been hot in NBA. So, why don't we get into some free plays for the folks? You got a double nightcap special. Because one game you're talking is 10 p.m. Eastern. The other one you're talking 11:30 Eastern. So let's start with the earlier tip out, I guess we'll say. It's the Warriors hosting the Clippers, and man, this total, we've seen some sizable movement from the opener. So we're seeing some movement towards the under. It opened at around 235. We're looking at 231 and a half, even some 231s out there. So big move to the under. What do you think? That's some steam worth following, or is that just giving us more value swooping in on the over between Clippers and Warriors?
You know what? I like the over before the line movement, and I still like the over here. And there's a reason for that line movement, and we'll get into that in a little bit here. But obviously, Dan, these two teams are really familiar with each other. But LA, it's going to be ready to return to form here after a 106-101 home loss to Minnesota. I actually had the Wolves in that one. With the loss, the Clippers, they're now 33-31 in sixth place in the West. Obviously, the Clippers and everyone wants to avoid the play-in tournament, so they're trying their best to get a few more wins here. But most nights, their room for error is really slim because they average and concede this exact same amount of points, 112.5. But the lineup, it's potentially, really scary here. If you can have Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Norman Powell, and now Russell Westbrook. If they can stay healthy and if they can play out the rest of the season, then LA could be a really scary team. The last time they did play Golden State, they hammered the defending champs by a score of 134-124. That was at home a couple of weeks ago. After that loss to LA, it was then the All-Star break. And in their first game back from the break, the Warriors, they fell 124-111 to the Lakers. But since then, they've won 3 straight, both straight up and against the spread. They've also seen the total go under the number in 4 straight. So I think that fact has helped drive down tonight's total as well, a little bit lower than it should be. The Warriors, they're 25-7 at home. They average 118.4 points per game. They allow 117.9. They've seen the total go over the number in 8 of their last 11 in trying to avenge a straight up and against the spread loss against an opponent. So I know Curry is out. That's the reason for this line movement. Stephen Curry is out, a few other guys. But I still think that the Warriors' best shot at winning this game is to get out and push the pace. I mean, the Clippers are favored here. LA, it's going to have to match that pace. The Warriors are essentially the best team in the league at home. I think they'll keep the foot on the gas in this one from start to finish, Dan. And so I'm going the other way on this one. I'm going on the over in this one.
I always love fading the steam because I feel like it feels even better when you know everybody's coming in one way and we're saying, what, just one player being out? There's still plenty of players that can score. That's the way Nick Parsons is attacking it, and he's been running pretty hot on the hardwood. Just how hot, we'll talk about that in just a moment because we love getting you that actionable information. This is the real nightcap. Nothing tipping, nothing facing off later than the 11:30 Eastern time tip in the opening round of the West Coast Conference tournament. And hey, talk about line moves. This one's seeing some love to the over. This one opened at 160. We're looking at around 163 even in some spots. So, Nick, we faded the steam in game one, but sometimes that's smart money. Are we riding with the steam here or in looking at the over in Pacific versus Pepperdine, or how are we going to be betting this one?
Well, again, I like the over before the movement, and I still like the over again in this one. Dan, you mentioned off the top of the show here that we're already into March, and I mean, my mind is blown. I can't believe how fast the time is moving, it seems like. But here we are. This is the opening round of the Western Conference tournament, the West Coast Conference tournament. It's the number 7 seed versus the number 10 seed. The Tigers, they actually swept the Waves during the regular season. These teams are similar in many ways, and that's on the offensive end, mostly on the offensive end. I think that, we're going to see a faster pace game here and ultimately a higher scoring one. Now, Pepperdine, it's only 9-21, last place in the West Coast Conference. They're just 2-4 in league play. They actually started the year 5-2, and then things went sideways from there. They lost by 5 points to the Tigers in January. Then they lost 81-73 in February. They turned the ball over 16 times. Pepperdine, it averages 78.2 points per game, but it allows 81.2. And then on the other side of the court, Pacific, I mean, it isn't putting the fear of God into anyone's hearts, despite the success it had against the Waves this year. They're just 14-17 overall, 7-9 in conference play. It did manage to win its regular season finale, but that snapped a 3-game losing streak. The Tigers, they average 76 points per game. They allow 77.9. And so Pepperdine, it's going to have its chances here on the offensive end. It plays with revenge. Pepperdine actually ranks 10th in adjusted tempo by KenPom. Pacific is ranked 53rd. And so, Dan, I'm thinking that each team gets well into the 80s here. And so, yeah, I'm looking for this total to go over the posted number sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and you should probably bet that sooner rather than later, because we continue to see money coming in on the over, and now that Nick Parsons in the insiders room just dropped it live on air, you might even see it go a little bit higher there. So we mentioned how hot you've been in college basketball, NBA. We have a great college basketball promo going on that you can ride. The earlier you get the access, the better, because you'll get all this access through the conference tournaments, through the end of March Madness for one great price. No code is needed. Just go to Nick Parsons' page, sm.buzz/TIR. And I know you've just been really feeling good about what you've been seeing on the hardwood, right, Nick?
Absolutely, Dan. Yeah, make sure you guys take advantage of the promo that Dan just mentioned there. But yeah, go check out the leaderboards. We are number 1 the last 3 days, number 1 the last 7 days in college basketball. We have a huge play out tonight, and we're just going to have a full lineup, a full card this weekend as well.
I mean, he just gave you 2 free plays right here live on air. You got to go over and check him out, sm.buzz/TIR. And that does it for another week here. Can't believe it's over already. If you enjoy the show, all we ask you to do, hit that little subscribe button so you never miss any of the great shows here at SportsMemo TV or Wager Talk TV. And then hit that like button. Hop below in the comments if you agree, if you disagree, because we're shutting it down for the week. Big thanks to Eric Pauly. Big thanks to Nick Parsons. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, and we'll be right back here getting that actionable info you know and love in 30 minutes or less right here on Tuesday on SportsMemo Today.